Hi, I'm Jessica Hotson from Jessi Illustrates, and today we're going to create a monster for Father's Day, giving our father monster hugs. So creating hands that can hug your dad.
So first of all, what you want to do is sketch out your monster. So I have created some wiggly lines all the way around. I've added in some, a bit like triangle horns. We've got some eyes that are round with wobbly bits around the edge. We've got a wobbly mouth with some triangle teeth. And finally, we've got feet. Now we're not going to do any hands because we're going to do those a little bit later, but next we can start to add some paint. Okay, so remember to have some clean water for your brush and some kitchen roll to wipe your brush on. I'm going to paint my monster blue. So what I'm doing now is just filling all the furry bits of the monster in. So carefully painting around the edges, if you can see. My brush isn't too huge. Carefully painting around the mouth and then using a stroke outwards to create a furry texture. Like that. And as I get to the edge, I'm going to make them a bit more spiky so he looks like he's a furry monster. You can see that. So what you want to do is do that all the way around your monster. Okay, so I've finished all of the blue fur and I'm going to add a little bit of white now. I'm using acrylic paint. So I'm going to use a little bit of white to add a little bit more texture. I'm going to go all the way around. Now if you're using watercolour paint or just palette paint, you could add in darker blue. So what you could do to do that is not put as much water onto your brush when you rub it in the paint, and that will make it a bit darker, and you can do the same as what I'm doing but with the darker blue or whatever colour you're using. Just adds a bit of contrast and texture. So I'm using my brush to flick my brush outwards, like that. Okay, I think I'm going to add a bit of hair at the top, just like that. Okay, I'm going to add some new colours. So now I'm going to add in this furry bit around the eyes. I'm going to do this with a lighter blue. So we're going to flick outwards, starting from the middle, going all the way around the outside of the eye, flicking out each time. So I'm using a slightly smaller brush here as well. Next we're going to add the mouth colour. Now as his mouth is open, it's quite dark inside his mouth, so we're going to use quite dark brown. We're going to add in some white to the eyeballs next. Obviously, if you're using watercolours, you can leave that white. So I've also just added in some yellow to the horns here. You can obviously do your horns any colour that you like, and again, if you've got acrylic paint or a white crayon, you can just add a little bit of white to highlight where the light is coming from, like that. Give it a little bit on the teeth as well, and a little bit on his foot there, on the eyes. I'm just waiting for the eyes to dry, and then I'm going to add some eyeballs in as well. While that's drying though, we're going to move on to the next stage. The next step is to create the arms of your monster. So using a ruler, take a piece of coloured paper and we're going to draw 2 strips the whole length of the paper, like so. One. And 2. Next we're going to cut those out. I've got 2 pieces of folded paper now. What we're going to do to create the arms is make them corsetinaed, which means making a bit like folded zigzags. So I'm going to fold one way, press down, turn it over and fold it the other way. We're going to carry on doing this all the way along. So I've got 2 concertina arms here, and what I'm going to do now is cut out my monster. Now I just need to add in his eyeballs, so let me do that first. I think it's dry. Oh no, not quite yet. I'll cut him out and then I'll add in the eyeballs. So just cut all the way around your monster. Cut out my monster now. You can see I've gone all the way around in some ziggly zaggly lines, and I'm going to add in the pupils. So I've got a big pen that I can use for that. We're looking over here like that. I'm going to give him an eyebrow as well. Okay, so the monster part is done now. So what we're going to do now is hands, because our monster needs some hands. So I'm going to do blue hands to match his body, and I'm going to draw them. My hand's quite big, but obviously your hands might be smaller, so you could draw around your own hand, or you could hand draw a smaller hand. So if you're drawing around your own hand, you would just draw like this all the way around, and then you can cut it out. Or if you want to draw a smaller hand, draw your own, you can do it yourself. So I'm going to do one about this sort of size, making sure I've got all the right number of fingers. So, although it's a monster, I suppose, but if it's yours, it will have 4 fingers and a thumb. And make sure that we round it off at the bottom there. Now what you can do is cut that one out and then flip it over. The final part is to add all of your bits together. So we've got our hands, our arms and our monster. To do that I'm going to add some sticky tape, but you can use glue. And what I'm going to do is take my monster and turn him over, and then using one of the flaps here, I'm going to stick on with a little bit of tape, stick it onto the back. Same on that side. Stick it onto the back, like that. And then we're going to do the same onto the hands, using a little bit of sticky tape, although you can use glue if you like, Pritt stick or something like that. It's probably better for the hands because you won't see the tape then. So again, just stick that on there like that, and same on that side, like that. When you turn your monster over, it's going to have big dangly arms, and this is for our monster hug. So what you can do is on your hands you can write your message. So perhaps I might write monster hugs on mine. Love, Jess. There we have it, we've got our lovely monster. Give your dad a monster hug. And on the back you can write a message. So if you do use Pritt stick, it'll be a bit neater, so you could write to Dad or Daddy, love from whoever, or Jess.